I don't know. It's just, you don't know, right? It's just a feeling, you know, and it's just, this is the one, you know, because I remember her saying one time, she just looks at me, she goes, we're going to get married, aren't we?
And I remember when he paid for the bill at the bar, slyly trying to check on his, I saw his driver's license and trying to check and see what his date of birth was, because I knew he was older.
Take a girl and a guy, and they fall madly in love and form a family. Sprinkle in some counseling degrees and a doctorate, a dream of transforming relationships as we know it. And 20 years later, we give you power couple Dr. Ray and Jean Kadkodian. And this is their podcast, Couples Synergy.
Welcome back to another episode of Couples Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. I am Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean, and this is our podcast about love, marriage, and relationships.
Check us out online at couplesynergy.com and be sure to subscribe to our podcast or send us any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear more about. And now on to Couples Synergy, an in-depth look at love, marriage, and relationships, where we bring you our experiences with working with thousands of couples for over 15 years.
You know, every day we get to hear intimate details about a couple's celebrations, disappointments, and everyday challenges. We've often wished these stories were shared because we know we are more similar than different. And so we've created not only an avenue where you can hear about people's intimate lives, but an atmosphere where people come over to our home pub, pour a drink, and share their stories.
People like today's guests, Angela and Chuck. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
You guys are actually, this is a really special one too, because you are actually a repeat guests because the first time it didn't really record, right? And we were still trying to work out the bugs in the system and everything. But thank you so much again for agreeing to come back and be on the show. Your story is a very interesting one, and it aligns with the topic that we are going to be talking about today, and that is age differences, correct? Right? And before we get to that, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves? How old are you, and what do you guys do for a living?
Sure. So I am 37 and I am in customer success in the technology industry. So was in sales, meeting and event planning in the past, marketing, market research, etc. Customer success is my jam. So I'm doing that. And yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Chuck here, and I am 48 and recently just quit my job, but I was in the construction business, superintendent for many years. I love the construction business. Probably will do something of the sorts after this now, maybe inspector or maybe even start my own business doing some woodworking or something like that. But yeah.
They get a shift in your career.
A little shift in the career.
Right. Life in transition.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's right.
And how long have you guys been together?
We've been together 6 years. We've been married. It'll be 5 years in December.
Awesome.
So why don't you tell us the story of how you met?
You're better at this than I am.
So I was working at a food service broker at the time and working with Chuck's best friend. They've been best friends since they were 5. They were born in the same hospital on the same day, an hour apart, and their families both wound up relocating to Park Ridge. And they wound up in the same kindergarten class, unbeknownst to the families, until I think Chuck went over to Danny's house for lunch. And he said, Danny's mom asked, what was your last name?
She knew my name. Yeah.
And she goes, I know you.
I know your mom.
So that was the beginning. And I always like to preface it with that because I just feel like that's kind of where our story started, because I worked with Danny and his wife was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer in 2010. And in 2011, she was sponsored by the Beat Tom and Bill Foundation, which is a local charity that does an annual golf outing and sponsors local families who are battling cancer. Danny's he just struck me as a super nice guy, like always talked about his family, like high energy. You know, now I wish he could tone it down a little bit, but that's a different topic.
That's Danny.
So, I talked to my dad. My dad's a small business owner. I said, how can we help? And he goes, yeah, I'll help. I'll sponsor a hole. Didn't think anything of it. The following year, my girlfriend was diagnosed with lung cancer, non-smoker, and was diagnosed with lung cancer. And Danny, because we worked together, I let people at work know. And he went to the board because he was on the board at this time. And he said, we have to help. And this was like 2 weeks before the outing. So that was in May of 2012. Chuck was at the outing golfing. sort of. And
Sort of golfing.
Trying
sort of golfing.
Trying to swing a club.
I have my own clubs. I got that going for me.
I'm sure his golf skills are fine. I think his drinking skills on the golf course are probably better than his golf
Much better.
skills. But
Much better.
and that point will come out later in the story.
okay.
That's why that's important. So I was there volunteering and he was there golfing, and I was with coworkers and he was with friends, and Danny had introduced us all, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Nice to meet you. My brain wasn't there. And then we went to the dinner, and every time I turned around, Chuck and his buddies were standing behind me. And I was like,
just creeping on you.
totally creeping on me. And I'm like, okay, this is really.
Was that intentional?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But Chuck's actually kind of shy and quiet when it comes to that. So his buddies were like, thank God you had those two with you.
Yeah.
Because they were all.
They were encouraging me.
They were striking up the conversation.
They were good wingmen.
Oh, they were.
very good.
So Danny was telling you, hey, you got.
It wasn't Danny. It was a couple other buddies of mine.
Oh,
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you let them know that you were kind of interested in her?
Yeah. And then so they, then good thing I told them that, because they took it from there, basically.
They really did. Somehow they actually helped your cause too.
Yeah. Still don't know how, but yeah.
So that was, and he insisted that we have dinner together. So we're trying to find seats for like his buddies and my coworkers, for all of us to sit together. And finally we found this table and that we could all fit at, and we sat and, listened to the stories of the families that were being sponsored and everything. And, it seemed we had a great conversation in between and whatnot. And then all of a sudden the evening was winding down, and Chuck comes up to me and he goes, okay, well, I got to go. My ride's leaving. Bye. Like bolts, like no high five, no nothing. I was like, so I'm driving home, and I distinctly remember driving home thinking, I must have really read that completely wrong. Nothing. Apparently he had to bug Danny for my number for a few weeks, and then he called.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
So you were picking up on some vibes from him.
I thought I was.
Then. Okay.
I mean, obviously I was, but
Right.
at that, immediately afterwards I was.
And I had a little too much to drink potentially. And the evening was fading really quickly. So I was on a one-track mind. I need to get out of here. I need to go.
Before you do anything stupid.
I'll talk to Dan tomorrow and figure out who she is.
Figure out who she is.
So apparently I left a very big impression.
So what did you first think, Chuck, when you first saw her?
I just thought her smile. Obviously, she's got a smile in her eyes and her laugh. And then when we were talking at the dinner, we just had just common threads about how the evening was going, and we'd make the same comments about things and so on and so forth, and just felt a connection. Yeah, and that's basically it. And there wasn't anything more than that, really.
So how long was it until you guys saw each other again?
It was a few weeks.
Yeah, it was about a month. Yeah.
So
May to June.
You call her and ask her on a date?
Yeah, but when I called her, she was in Philadelphia when I called her.
Lucky for him, because I wouldn't have answered the phone otherwise. I don't answer for unrecognized numbers.
You would have got a message from me.
Why'd you answer?
Because I was working and I didn't know. So when I was working remotely, and I didn't know if it was somebody with work. So I answered the phone, and it was Chuck.
It was me. Surprise.
And he says I was a little harsh and short at first, because
A little offstandish or something. Yeah.
Because I didn't know who was calling.
I took you off guard, I think. Yeah,
You
you're
still
right.
do.
Who's this?
Just in different ways.
So how long were you guys together before you knew you were a couple?
Before we knew we were a couple, it wasn't that long.
No, I actually remember having the conversation.
Like the third date, maybe.
Yeah. But he was in Canada and I was here, and I was in a transition period, and I had two choices, and you know this. It was either, let's see where this is going to go, with this super nice guy who showed up on our first date with my favorite flowers and just got out of his car, as opposed to, honking.
Slow roll, jump in.
Exactly. I actually had a guy once show up at the building next door to mine because he couldn't find my building, and it was snowing, and he had me walk over to that building, and I still went on the date. He had me walk in the snow to the building next door. And then this guy shows up and he's got, like I said, my favorite flowers. And and I was planning on just coming down and going. And I remember distinctly just walking out of the building. He was sitting on the bench and it was beautiful. It was June out and he was just so relaxed and he had the smile on his face when I walked out the door. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should have him up for some wine or something. Like, I mean, he brought me flowers. Least I can do is pour a glass of wine. So we went upstairs and had a glass of wine and then we went on with our, reservations and whatnot. So that made me realize that there was something else going on, but I did have to, I could have stayed on the path that I was on with the same type of guy who would have gotten me in the same situation that I always was, which was lots
guys that are making you walk through the snow.
Guys that are making me walk through the snow.
Right.
Like, don't even put the car in park to let you out,
Right.
There was a lot of energy there with that type, right? Like it was very clear. I was comfortable with that. He made me very uncomfortable.
Chuck made you uncomfortable?
Yeah, he made me uncomfortable.
So being treated well was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Do you think that the way he showed up has something to do with the age difference?
I think so. I would like to say, we have a soon to be 3-year-old son. So I hope that, when he's going on a first date, when he's older, that he's
chivalry.
Chivalrous.
That he shows up with his, with flowers and somebody says, whoa, this guy's different. Right. Mm-hmm. But I think right now, yeah, it is the age difference.
Was that ever a concern in the beginning for you?
Well, so that was our first official date. We had an unofficial date where he was in the neighborhood. His buddy's band was playing at the Park District or something like that. And he calls me and I had to go for a run. So I couldn't go. But I said I would meet up for a drink afterwards. And he said, okay, I'll take you up on that. So we met up for a drink afterwards. And this was our unofficial first date. And I remember when he paid for the bill at the bar, slyly trying to check on his, I saw his driver's license and trying to check and see what his date of birth was. Because I knew he was older, right? Like I just needed to know how old. I didn't know how old.
Yeah.
So
you didn't ask Dan?
No. Well, I was trying, I obviously knew that they were the same age, but I didn't want to be rude and ask Dan his age, nor did I want to be rude and ask Chuck his age. So instead I was rude and totally stole his data off of his driver's license.
Who's the creeper now?
Yeah.
This girl. Yeah.
So was that typical for you, Chuck, that you would, when you dated, we have that chivalrousness?
Yeah. That's the way I was. I guess that's the way I was brought up. And that's what I always did on a first date. The dates after that, I, tried to be as chivalrous as I could.
Did you find that some women had a hard time with that?
No.
Okay. Just this one.
Yeah. But she didn't show that she had a hard time with it though.
Okay.
I didn't get that at all.
It was completely unexpected.
You were not used to it.
I wasn't used to it. Mm-hmm. And even my girlfriends, it's like, so the next day you're talking, how'd it go? And I said, well, he showed up with flowers. He did what? Huh?
You only see that in the movies.
Yeah, exactly. And your favorite flowers, how did he even know? He actually paid attention.
I think a lot of women that I work with that are independent and have been not only taking care of themselves, but other people like you took care of a lot of people in your family. They don't know how to do this thing that I call drop the hanky, where you don't go on the first date and pay. Yeah. You have to learn to receive, because ultimately women are the ones who get pregnant. And the point of dating is to make sure this guy can actually protect and provide for you when you are in a vulnerable position. And unfortunately, so many women today have had to kind of do both sides themselves. So they don't want to have that vulnerability. So they're like, I'll just pay myself. Then I don't owe anyone anything. Exactly. And it really disrupts the whole dating process.
It really does. And we wound up, Chuck was I hope you don't mind me saying this, in a different financial position than I was when we started dating. And when I found out about that, that was when we turned the tables. And up to that point, he had been paying for everything. And I realized that he really didn't have the money to be doing that, but he was going to figure out a way. This is what I'm supposed to, this is what I want to be doing.
Right.
So I'll figure it out. But once I got wind of that, we found a way that worked for us so that I could feel, and I think I kind of because I'm so used to taking care of everyone. And then he was able to focus on getting himself out of that financial predicament and just know that he was able to demonstrate the type of man that he was, right, and that he is, before we had to have that discussion about finances. But we had that pretty quick.
Was it at that point that you knew that you guys were a couple and not just dating?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Because that financial discussion, I mean, it's a really big step for couples.
I felt like I had to bring it up early because that's not something that you don't like try to hide, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this is me. If we want to keep this going, well, this is me. And this is
all
what I need to do. Right. And if, you want to keep going, it's your decision. And luckily she decided yes.
How did you feel about how she responded to that?
I thought she was awesome. I was like, man.
He was nervous. You didn't know what I was going to do.
Like, this girl's a keeper.
So who said I love you first?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
When was this?
Probably 2 months in. Yeah, it was pretty quick.
We moved pretty quick.
Yeah. And he did not reciprocate.
All right, Chuck, tell us that story.
Yeah.
You know what?
Hear what this response was.
I don't know why I didn't. I really don't know why. Maybe I was just scared, or maybe I just felt like it was moving too fast, and I didn't want to feel like I was trying to push it as fast. So he kind of caught me off guard a little bit, I think.
That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And
so those words are just
but it wasn't that far
dangling.
Afterwards.
It wasn't like,
maybe it was a little bit of, I wanted to say it first. How did she get to do it?
Ain't nobody got time.
You gotta
for that.
drop it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt right. And I felt like he loved me. So I said it, and then he didn't say anything back. And I almost appreciated that more. So I think that was kind of what needed to happen for us, because historically, in my experience, you say it and then the person reciprocates, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really mean anything.
Right. And for him, it was a huge thing to say those 3 words. So he wasn't ready to say it yet. And I almost appreciated that more than anything else, I think.
This is 2 months into the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty quick.
It's
it was very quick.
So you're waiting until you mean it to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted, just to be sure. I mean, I knew it was.
How did you know?
We never argued. Never.
Well, we were only together 2 months.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that start arguing right away, And
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we were always on the same page. We even though with the age difference, it seemed like we liked the same things, and I don't know. It's just you don't know, right? It's just a feeling, And it's just, this is the one, Because I remember her saying one time, she just looks at me, she goes, "We're going to get married, aren't we?" And I looked at her and I was like, I think so.
Yeah. So he couldn't say I love you, but he could tell me he was going to marry me right away.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, because, this is kind of an experience that Jean and I had. I felt like age difference between the two of us, and we're 6 years apart, was something that was just like on paper. And that when we were together, it really didn't matter. It wasn't something that was an issue. But when we would talk about how old we were with other people, that's when it really came to light.
It's an issue for other people.
Yeah, it's similar for us. It's the same way.
Yeah. And 11 years, we joke about it sometimes, right?
What kind of reactions do you guys get from people?
Well, he gets high fives.
I do too.
She does too. Right.
I was a cougar before it was even a word.
Always setting a trend.
The most famous one was when we ran into was it Ribfest or something?
Yeah.
Rob Banconi.
Yeah. He
literally gave me a jumping high five.
Nice work.
What kind of reactions did you get?
Quiet.
Quiet reactions.
Well, you know what? A lot of it is if I don't tell anybody, they don't know. Like, it's not like you
Same
can
with
tell
us,
by the way that, one of us doesn't look like so much younger or older than the other.
Yeah.
He doesn't act like he's like, got a foot in the grave.
I try to be hip.
Right. With us, everyone thinks I'm older than her, which doesn't feel good for me. Yeah, I think it is more of an issue for other people, and they're kind of looking to you, to how to react.
Right. Yeah. And we don't think about it. I mean, day to day, we don't think about it.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes, when we're together, especially with his friends, right. And they're talking about, oh yeah, you remember when, it was like, 89 and we did this. And I'm like, nope, don't remember. I was 9. Right, like, so that's when it comes up. And we have now it's a joke.
Ours
Now
comes
we
up
have
in music.
Yeah.
We have a
music
very
is
big
big.
difference in
Right.
music.
Yeah. Well, I look at them, all my friends. I mean, most of them the kids are in college or in high school, and
Yeah.
I got 2 little ones,
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't make it hard. It's just interesting. And I think in some ways, and we were actually just talking about this not that long ago, how we feel like it benefits us because we see people at different stages as opposed to being in the thick of it. When you have 2 small kids, right? You're like in diapers and bottles and, all you like poop. I mean, that's what your life is. And then you have everyone around you is also in that life. But with Chuck's friends, who are my friends, right? I'm just making a distinction here where we have this kind of, they've already been there, done that. They're excited they're totally cool with coming by, so that we can get the kids to bed and then we can just hang out in our sunroom and have a drink or whatever it might be. And they enjoy that. And we see kind of what the fruits of their labor have bore as opposed to trying to figure it out together. Cause like parenting, like marriage and everything else, who the hell knows what they're doing?
Right.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Like seriously.
Is there a rule book somewhere? Yeah.
That's funny because the girl that's babysitting tonight for us right now is my friend's daughter. She's a senior in high school. And,
Perfect.
One of my good friends. And
so it's coming handy.
And they were at Cassie's birthday party a few weeks ago. Both of his kids were there. He's got a son that's going to be a sophomore in college. And she's like, those kids are so good. We need to hang out with John and Annie more. And they need to teach us what they did because those kids are awesome.
They're just like
That's cool.
super great with people and just and I think they're like normal kids, right? Like they've probably done the same thing we all did when we were in high school. And I don't mean this as a criticism. I mean this as a compliment because I think it's important to have those experiences.
Did you guys live together before you got married?
We did.
Yeah.
How did you decide that?
Chuck just kept showing up every day with a little jewel bag with his clothes for the next day. I'm not even kidding you. And jewel bag, or a grocery store bag, I should say, in case people don't know what jewel is.
Right.
What were you thinking when you were packing every morning?
I don't know. I just, because of my financial situation, I was living at my parents' house and I had a house with my brother and then he got married and blah, blah, blah. And then I was doing a job where I was on the road constantly. And then I had moved back home and it was living with my parents. I was actually in the process of trying to find a house.
Right. That was a fun conversation.
And,
well, because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was like, this is stupid for you. Like, I have a condo, right? What are you doing? Like something was compelling me to say, like, don't go and buy a house. First of all, I didn't like the areas he was looking in either. So if this was going to go somewhere, I didn't want to live there.
I could afford.
Right.
So,
right. But, so that was one of so we had a lot of difficult conversations early, maybe not difficult, serious conversations early because, we had our 2 separate lives. I don't know if it was, I was 32 when we met and you were 43, right? Yeah. Something around there. So we were very much established as people, as individuals. So we kind of had to have these discussions, or we chose to have these discussions sooner just because of the fact that I didn't want him to get further down in this path. And then we both would have had these homes, what we were going to do. The market wasn't that great, right? Like in that. So even before we had the discussion about moving in together, we had to have the discussion about, maybe you should just hold off looking for a house right now. And that's kind of led to the, you show up every day with your little jewel bag. So why don't you just leave some stuff here? Right.
I think we went through that where, I'd lived on my own for a really long time and you hadn't. And I was like, I think you should. And then you looked at a condo or something and then you just moved in.
It just didn't make any sense at that point, right?
Right. And that's where we were too. And it was, super early into it and it just didn't make any sense. But I remember distinctly we were driving.
I was going to say,
with Dan and
what did
Lisa.
you tell Lisa? She cracked the hell up.
And so we were driving and Dan was driving, Lisa was in the front seat. And then we were like in the middle row because that's a 3-row car. Lisa's like, so Chuck, when did you decide to move in? I go, well, it's not like he moved in. It's just more like he showed up and never left. Right. And that's what it was. He just kept showing up with his jewel bag and he never left.
At what point did you have that discussion then?
About leaving his jewel bag there?
No, not about the jewel bag. Probably get a gym bag or something, maybe. But
you would think.
Yeah, right.
No, it was a jewel bag.
So the discussion of, stop looking at places.
Yeah.
Let's just try to make this work together here.
Yeah, he was coming over and he loves to cook. He does lots of things. So he would come over and he would cook and we would,
She would sit there.
I would sit there
open the wine,
and
drink the wine,
and we would drink. And I mean, that's what you do when you first start. Like that's what
Yeah.
you're supposed to be able to
Talk
do.
for hours and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Talk for hours. Now we just try and stay awake for 20 minutes after the kids go to bed. So it just came up in that discussion and I didn't know how to word it, but I did. I said, maybe you should just kind of hold off on that for now. It just doesn't make sense. I don't think for us to have two separate houses. Let's see where this goes. I mean, is it really going to hurt you to wait a little bit? This doesn't go the way it's looking.
And I'm
Then you
glad
stay at
she
your
had the
parents'.
forethought
Right.
to say, you know what? Because I wasn't going to bring it up. I was
Right.
going to say, should I be looking at houses? I don't know. Why don't I just move in here?
How soon into the relationship were you guys having that conversation?
That was only a few months.
Yeah. I mean, everything
In
went,
between
so-
you saying I love you and him?
Yeah, just
Not. Yeah.
not. Because it was.
Why don't you just?
I mean, we were engaged by 9 months.
Yeah.
9 months in.
9 months in.
Tell us the story of how you guys got engaged.
So I wasn't
Yeah.
big on ultimatum. I'm still not. I just don't think ultimatums work. That's just not who I am. They never worked on me. So I don't think they work on any. I don't want to put them on somebody else. But I did tell him because he always wanted a Christmas wedding. And I was not one of the girls that had my wedding all planned out. But I told him, I said, well, if you want a Christmas wedding, it doesn't matter what year it is, but I need at least 9 months to plan a wedding. So I was actually hoping for 12, 13, 14, because I thought that would have been a fun anniversary.
That's a fun
Right?
number.
Like-
right.
But we got married in 2013 because he proposed on March 9th.
9 months. So, I was running out of time, and I gotta do this.
Did you plan
Down
much?
to the
Did you
wire.
talk to her dad? Did you?
I did talk to her dad and her brother at their,
But only because my brother was there. I mean, because he's
yeah.
my baby brother.
They have the landscaping company, and I was over there giving them a hand. They were redoing the tile floor in the office area, and I was doing it for them and helping them out. So I told them, I'm gonna want to marry your daughter, and your dad was great. He just had a smile, and your brother being the typical Italian type. You better be good to her, or else.
Or else. Right.
Yeah, that's sweet.
But he was joking, halfway joking.
But that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, my dad and I we have a good relationship now, but it took a while to get to this point.
Mhm.
Right? But that was huge. I mean, when I was
nervous as hell. Oh God. I think I was more nervous trying to ask your dad than I was when I popped the question. Yeah.
So how did you decide on the ring?
Interesting, because I went looking at rings, and I had the only person that knew that I was going to ask her.
only literally.
I didn't even tell my best friend. I didn't tell anybody. That's not the way I'm a good secret keeper. So nobody knew that this was happening, but a friend of the family, she had a friend in the diamond business, the commercial, but it was an actual guy over in downtown that she had told me before, she's like, if you're ever going to get married, let me know, because I got a guy, everybody in Chicago's got a guy. And, so I was like, I need that number. No, you're gonna. I'm like, yeah. And she kept it quiet. So I was looking at rings. I had remember that there was a piece of furniture in her house, in her condo. That was one of the first things that she bought for the condo. It was this little table for the front door. It's like what you put your keys on or whatever. And it had this design on the side, the way the legs curved and crossed each other and stuff. And this ring had that design right in the side of it. And I'm like, that's the ring. You just see it. I'm like, that's it. That's the one I want. That's the one I got. And she seems to love it.
I do love it.
And then,
So how'd you ask her?
So that was the next part. And I knew I wanted to do something different, but I didn't want to do something corny. I didn't want to, make this whole big ordeal and how some of these people they got, it's a big production and all this stuff. I just,
we're not big production.
I just took the ring and I put it somewhere. I can't even remember. I think I ended up had it in my hand when we went to bed and I just stuffed it under the mattress on my side and left it under there.
How he got this past me.
And then in the morning, I grabbed it and I was up way before she was. I'm just waiting for her to wake up, just laying there. And she wakes up and I'm going to get this completely wrong because I'm nervous. And what did I say? I go,
so whenever I used to, here, let me help you out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I used to,
it was, and I thought about this line over and over and over again of how I was going to say it.
One of my favorite things to do is to lay on his chest. And I said that's my favorite place. And we would just cuddle at night and talk and I would lay on his chest. So we were cuddling that morning and I knew he had to get to my dad's. He was doing the tile. Right. And I'm like, why are we cuddling? I have an appointment with my trainer. What's happening right now? I'm like, he wants to cuddle. I'll take it. So good thing I did because
I said something about being in your favorite place. I go, what? I go, yeah.
I was going to give him a shot. Okay. Yeah, so let me just finish here. So
I can't believe I can't remember exactly the words that I said. And
so I was laying on his chest and he goes, do you know what would make your favorite place even better? And the first thing that popped in my head was chest implants. Because not because I thought he needed them, but because that was I don't know. That was the only thing
could make this more comfortable.
I had no clue where he was going with this. Yeah. I don't know. And he goes, being in your favorite place is my wife.
And I was just holding the ring. And she freaked out.
I totally freaked out.
Yeah.
So you didn't see it coming?
I totally didn't. I was so mad. No.
That was the other thing. I had to figure out a way to get her off guard. Dinner, I mean, there was how else are you going to do it? I mean, you're going out, a big fancy dinner or whatever, and now that ain't going to work. And we're going to go to this place. Why are we going here? And I don't know. I just want to go. No, that wouldn't work. And so I had to keep it pretty low key, and it worked.
It did work.
Yeah.
So we kind of have this theory that the way a wedding goes is the way a marriage goes. So the way a couple plans their wedding, it sort of is kind of symbolic of how their marriage is. Would you guys say that's true?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really disagree on anything.
We talked about, he was involved in the whole process. It wasn't just, do whatever you want to do. We were thoughtful about, we were trying to find ways to save money. So we did the programs and, we printed them ourselves and we put little bows on them and he was up, tying the bows and the ribbon. Yeah. The whole thing was a collaboration. It was a collaboration.
Really good at the planning and all that stuff. And I was really into the food part of it. Right. Yeah. And she wasn't, I'm not going to say she didn't care about the food, but she's like, all right, well, what do we do? And I was like, oh yeah, well, I want to do this and that. And, we can. And
I put in my requests and I was like, okay, I want Chilean sea bass and a quinoa for a veggie option. And he just made it happen. Right.
And he came up with this really cool menu and with the options for people. And it was fun. And we just had a good time planning it. And it was December. It was a December Christmas wedding. And, so we had ice sculptures for the centerpieces with a little bit of flowers in them and stuff. And we just did something completely different. We had fun with it. And
why did you want a Christmas wedding?
One of the reasons was, and it really didn't even happen, did it? With
snow.
Well, snow was one of them, but
you wanted to snow.
He did.
Was the church, because we ended up getting married at my church where I grew up at St. Paul of the Cross. I remember at Christmas time, the church was decorated so beautiful. Poinsettias everywhere, all over this altar and everything. And it was just beautiful. And I thought it'd be really cool to have that for a wedding. And then one of the other, the snow part of it is my sister got married in December, about the same.
December 29th.
Yeah, a little bit different date, but she got married in Austria where they met. And the wedding, I remember going into the chapel. There's no snow on the ground. We had the wedding, and then by the time we came out, there's 2 inches of snow. There's huge snowflakes, and they go busting out into the courtyard in this after the wedding and they're dancing around in the snow. And I just thought it was one of those cool scenes, you know, I'm like, oh, that would be really cool.
So she didn't think about a wedding, but you did.
I just thought about a part of it. Yeah. And,
The Groomzilla.
Yeah. But other than that, it was like, you know, whatever. And, so yeah,
but we brought a lot of our family into it too. Like we wanted to make sure we don't want to make other people happy. It was our goal to make us happy, but what makes us happy is making sure everyone's having a good time. So we wanted to make sure the food was good and the music was good and the drinks were flowing and it was convenient. The location was convenient, which was easy. I mean, he grew up in Park Ridge. I grew up in Morton Grove. Our families all still live in the area. It didn't really complicate things, but it was, I mean, I think, you know, one thing with the age difference is I too, I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest of all my cousins. So I've always been older. I've always hung out with the adults and with the grown-ups and always acted like a grown-up. So I think that might be.
And I was the oldest out of my whole family too, of all the cousins and everything too. I mean, we can have that in common as well.
We do have that in common. Yeah. I think that kind of brings the age gap a little bit for me closer to his.
You grew up early.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So we've known you longer than Chuck.
Yeah.
And
I probably wouldn't know Chuck if it was
little bit of trivia. Today's Dean's birthday.
Is it?
He's 20. I know. So I don't know how old he was when we met you, but that's an interesting marker.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. How do you know us?
So I started seeing Gene back in a long time ago. I started seeing Gene. I just realized, I don't know, that I needed some help. Right? I had a coworker who I think had taken some of your group classes or something and had recommended the Lighthouse. I said, well, let's give it a shot. And I didn't know what to expect. Still sometimes don't know what to expect.
Got to keep you guessing.
Yeah, Gene and I did a lot of work on me as an individual, which was really important. Getting my own place. That was us, right? That was us getting to that place because I didn't know how I was going to pay for a blender.
Well, very early in your life, you took on some big responsibilities.
I did. I took on, my parents are divorced. So that changes the dynamic.
How old were you when they got divorced?
I was 15. So that was old enough, but still young. Right. Like, and I was old, and I say old enough because I was old enough to take on responsibility and feel that I had to and try and help out, and feel that I had to contribute, so when you're underage, you can't work 40 hours a week, but if you work 2 jobs part-time, you can. Right. So I did that, kept a decent GPA and was involved.
And you're financially contributing to the family at that point?
Financially contributing to the family at that point, paying whether it be the electric bill or whatever needed to be done. My brother was 10 at the time. So if my mom was working, if he needed to go to a doctor's appointment, I would take him. We only had one car. I would accompany her to parent-teacher conferences for him and help wherever I can or could. So there was a lot of intertwining that needed to be unraveled to realize who I was and what I wanted and what I needed and what I could do. And that me doing things for me was not doing things for my family. It was actually putting me in a better position to, if I chose to, help them. So there was a lot of undoing.
So being as young as you were and having the stress that you had, you originally came in to see me because, go ahead, tell the story.
I was sleep eating.
Yes.
Now I would just love to sleep. Yes.
And you, I think you're the first person I knew that worked out with a trainer, and you would come in and you're like, at 5:30 in the morning, I'm working out with my trainer all the time and I'm not losing any weight because
I was getting up at night and eating, and I had no control over what was in the house. So I can't blame other people. I mean, I was putting the food in my mouth, right? But it's easier to control that, like when you have your own place. But, when you're living, at the time I was at home. So I think my nephew was already moved out at that point, but it was like my sister and her husband and my brother and my mom and their kids and me. And it was all in the family kind of, happy little family thing. So there was a lot of junk in the house and a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And I was sleep eating.
How did your relationship with your body impact you being in relationships back then?
I was not okay with saying no. I felt like you just always had to say yes. Right. And I think a lot of women feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to say yes.
So you come last.
Yes.
Maybe not at all.
Right.
Yeah. So everyone else's needs are important.
Yes. I still have a little bit of that. It's something you have to be conscious about and have a partner that supports you and realizes that that's not healthy and calls you out on it, which Chuck does.
He does.
He does.
Try to at least.
Yeah. And then I
I
yell at him.
And then you duck.
I'm just kidding.
So what was your relationship with your body like for you?
Miserable. It was, I felt trapped. I felt trapped in my own body.
At about what age did you kind of start to feel that way?
I can't remember an age I didn't feel that way. I mean, I had tried every diet since I remember being in 6th grade. Somebody reading or somebody telling me that like if you just sucked on lemons, right, that would help you lose weight. So that's what I would do.
Good
advice.
advice.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's going to burn the fat away.
I think mine was if I just drink Tab, 1 calorie Tab, I'll just have that for my
Tab.
diet.
Now you're dating yourself.
Right.
Tab and a cigarette. And that was in 6th grade. And that wasn't the first diet I had tried. So I had always been on it, and that was something that I struggled with when we got pregnant. Like that fear, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of going back to that.
When do you feel like you were able to sort of master your body or have a healthier relationship with your body?
I would say probably not long before I met Chuck.
So I think there was a point you moved out and then you could control what was in the refrigerator.
Correct.
When you slept 8.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And I lost 90 pounds.
Yeah.
I lost 90 pounds. And it wasn't just and it just kind of like all of a sudden it felt like it fell off, right? Because I worked out with a trainer for so many years and finally it was just working. It was just working.
And, one of the fears a lot of women have is that, that attention from, when you're overweight, you're sort of an invisible person in our culture.
Right.
And then when you start to get noticed, it can be a little overwhelming. How was that for you?
That was spring break. My friends called that spring break.
It wasn't actually spring break.
It was not actually. It was my
spring break season of your life.
It was your
season
spring
of my
break.
life. It was my spring break because I did not have, I didn't do that when I was young because I went to, I was putting myself through college and working and whatnot. So it was my spring break. It was not a good time. It was not a highlight. I did some really stupid shit. I mean, and I have to say it that way because it was really dumb. I put myself in some really, really bad situations. And luckily I have some really, really awesome friends. And I just pray that our kids have that because I hope they don't do stupid shit, but they're going to, right? But that's what helped get me through it. And my girlfriends had actually had a talk and they said, okay, they had a date like in their mind that, okay, we're going to let this play out and we're going to see. And if by this date she's still doing this, we're going to sit her down and talk to her. That's how bad it was.
So I remember that time.
Yeah.
And I knew at that point, the work we were doing, you needed something different.
Yeah.
And so I suggested that you work with Ray.
Yes. Multiple times.
It took a bit for you to get the courage up
and
to
then
do that.
I still didn't get the courage up. I think he just came to once. You're like, are you okay if Ray comes in? And I said, well, okay. And I don't know if you're like standing out the door or whatnot.
No. I didn't know what I was in for. But.
And
that makes 2 of us.
And my thinking back then was, you were doing so well learning about who you were and being independent and
having
setting
dinner with
appropriate
myself.
Boundaries with your family and all that kind of stuff. But then all that attention you were getting, you didn't know how to show up powerfully in a partnership. And, my thought is, here's a great template. Here's my healthy husband over here that could help you learn what guys are actually thinking and whatever. And so I passed you on.
Yeah.
How was that?
I didn't know at first what it was going to be like.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the first time we tried that.
I think it worked. It worked. It definitely worked. But yeah, I remember distinctly every session, really. It wasn't just multiple, it was literally every session when Ray would look at me and laugh when I told him my rationale for doing something. Oh, really?
Right.
So that's what we're going with.
You did what?
Or that's what you think that meant. No, really, why did you walk into that bar by yourself to have a drink? You knew your girlfriend wasn't going to, there was a potential she wasn't going to be there. What was really your motivation for doing that?
I remember that now.
Yeah.
How is it different hearing that from a guy rather than from me as a girl?
It was more powerful just because there's the thought that that's what guys want, right? Like the kind of guy that you want to find, because he's the kind of guy that's going to actually partner with you and collaborate with you. He wants you to be sitting at a bar by your stool by yourself at midnight, right? Like he doesn't.
Right.
The guy that wants that is the guy who's looking for a one night stand or something easy, right? And
and then you don't have to face much rejection, because if he's looking for a one night stand, then at least that night's taken care of.
Right. Right. And that was the path. I mean, it wasn't necessarily one night stands, but it was, that type of non-committed relationship that I had that choice to stay down that path or to see where I was going to go with Chuck.
What are some things you learned during that time that you learned about yourself as a woman in a relationship and what you should expect from a partner?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is that I needed to enjoy being with myself before I could enjoy being part of something. So there were a lot of nights I had dinner by myself. There were a lot of nights I didn't, where I'd have dinner by myself and I'd say, okay, I'm going to go. I had an on and again, off again guy that worked at a bar. That was trouble. There were lots of nights I could just drive up Lincoln Avenue and not have to pay for anything, see where the night took me. And this is no surprise to Chuck. So this is not the first time he's heard any of this stuff, just in case anybody's wondering.
You did what?
So those are very, very toxic, very codependent relationships that a lot of people, it is an addiction. And it's something, once you're in the process of it, it's hard to think or feel your way out of it.
It really was.
Well, especially when you can't see anything but, right? You're just kind of locked in that paradigm and you can't break yourself out of that.
Right. And if you don't have someone like yourselves, Ray and Jean, helping kind of guide you through that, you don't even realize, because you're not going to be able to get yourself to the point that you're even going to be in a situation where a healthy guy is going to come along. And if he does, you're going to tell him to go take a long walk because he's the nice guy that shows up with the flowers, right? And
one of the first things that happened, I had shoulder surgery.
that's the age.
Healthy, right? There's the age showing.
Sitting in the condo with my arm in a sling for 3 months.
Made him drive home from a bar one night.
That's right.
He was a designated driver.
A week after my surgery.
But yeah, so I mean, it was just, you need to have that guidance and that something to kind of take you out of that. It was meditation, right? It was my girlfriends. We all help each other. We don't necessarily know, we don't have the training, right? But we know that, okay, what you're doing is unhealthy, right? Like that's how bad it was, right? Sometimes when people are doing unhealthy things, you don't even know. The things I was doing were so consistent and so toxic and so unhealthy that everyone knew. Yeah. I mean, my friends, my coworkers obviously didn't, but my friends knew.
Chuck, what was going on for you before you met her?
Well, I had just come back from California, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
a few months ago.
I was working with my sister. We had a little business that we were doing in California. I was there for a couple of years. I was dating a girl before I left for California. And it just, I don't know. I was with her for a while. It was 3, 4, 5 years maybe. And it just didn't seem right all along. It just never seemed right. And it never did. She wanted, we had split up for a while and then she was wanting to get back together. And when I was out in California and I thought I'd give it one more chance. And I met up with her in San Antonio for all places. She had some trip she had to go to there. And I met her up there. And the second I got there, I knew it was a mistake. It wasn't anything there. So I just went back to California and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to find anybody. But whatever, it is what it is. And it's going to try to move on with my life and keep going. And then I decided to move back to Chicago. And then it wasn't long after I moved back is when I met Angela.
One thing that I'm sorry if I cut someone off, but one thing I always admired about Chuck was that he actually had the courage to end relationships when they were bad. Like my relationships were so bad, like you just blocked their phone numbers and just stopped talking. Like there was no.
He actually had closure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my
ghosting.
closure is literally and that was the only way because they were just so toxic. But so that's something that I just really admire in him, just because I think that takes a lot of strength. And I took the way out that I needed to, but it was.
But Chuck, did you find that there was kind of a common theme in the relationships that you were having before you met Angela?
No, not really. No, because there was the three previous ones. The one was, I don't know. It's hard to explain her. She just, I don't know. That one, it was just weird. And then
that was the common theme.
Yeah, it was just strange. And I just, she just didn't think I did anything right, and it was, I would do something wrong and she'd just get like, why? It's spaghetti. I made it like you didn't like it for some reason. Whatever.
It's actually really good cooked.
But it's just weird. It was just weird. And then there was another girl and she was really nice. It's just that she was too nice. She was just kind of boring, and just,
she didn't really challenge you.
No. And she was just super nice. And, I got along with all my girlfriends, and not like that. I had tons of them, but
you could get along with a piece of 2x4. So, I mean that as a compliment to him, not as a criticism of the ladies.
Well, one of the reasons why I ended up in my financial situation is, because of that one girlfriend that I had. She wasn't divorced because they never got married, but she had a son, and they were going through the whole custody battle, and she needed lawyers and court appearances and this and that. And I was helping her. I was helping her with all that, and I spent a lot of money on that. And and I credit cards, and
do you know what we might have suggested to you if you were working with us back then?
Walk away.
So you can see the kind of the equivalent.
Yeah. And I ended up doing that, but a little bit too late. I just felt really bad for her, and I was, trying to help her in any way I could. And then, I got a credit card for her in my name. And that's one of the things that turned things in the wrong direction, where, racked that credit card up big time, and,
Do you know why you thought that? Like, I'm going to go get you a credit card. What were you actually thinking? Was you trying to help her?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to help her, Well,
you thought that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like,
I'm like, I need to help her.
I'm saying this because that's what you said.
Yeah, right. Because at that time, I thought we might even get married, but I was, so I got to help her, and then the things she started doing once I was helping her, she just kept taking advantage and taking advantage and taking advantage. And like, this is just not right, and then a few times I'm like, well, I'm in this so deep. This is it. I might as well just stay here and do it. And then finally I was just like, you know what? No, I don't care if I lost the money. I just got to get out of here and move on, and
that's another tough relationship to walk away from.
Yeah.
That's a hard pattern to break.
Yeah.
So you're post 40 at this time in your life, haven't had kids, haven't been married.
No.
How you feeling? What are you thinking?
I'm feeling great. New shoulder. I got a new hip.
Now. But
before you met her in this, another relationship.
I think I had come to terms with, you know what? Maybe I won't find anybody, but I'm still going to have a good time. I always did all kinds of different things. Different jobs. I traveled the country with a racing job that I was with, and did this. I wasn't afraid to just do different things. And so that kept me busy and kept me distracted. Yeah.
But you kind of resigned yourself to maybe this is never
I don't know if I fully resigned myself, but, I'm going to go to my sister and brother-in-law in California. They were like, you know what, why don't you come out here? We want to start up this business selling wine online. So we started this business, and that kept me, maybe I'll meet somebody out in California. And, so I went to California for 2 years, and we were so busy with the company and everything. It didn't have any time to do anything else, So,
well, he got,
but I had a lot of fun, and it just totally distracted. And
So you were pretty good at being a single person.
yeah.
he got pretty emotional when our son's older. He got pretty emotional after our son was born. Cause you remember?
Yeah, I know. I said I never thought I'd have a son or a daughter, and
Now you got
I
one.
said I never thought I'd have this. Never. And when the second he was born, I was like, I can't believe it, But now it's here, And
Did you go to prenatal classes?
we did.
How was that for you guys? Were you guys about the same age as everybody else in there?
No, we did that online. I wasn't about to waddle myself into a class with a bunch of
Online
miserable pregnant women.
prenatal classes. So the YouTube video or something?
It was horrible. Honestly, if you're going to take the classes, you should really probably go to the online. It was just, it was not.
But the one we did
Or
go
just don't
to
take
for
the
a class was
classes.
actually the CPR,
Oh yeah, we went to see. Yeah, but that wasn't just like couples with,
No.
so we didn't, we kind of avoided that. But
Was that part of a thought because of your guys' ages?
no, it was a thought because of my attitude.
Which was
Just probably better if I'm not around other pregnant women.
because
I was not a happy pregnant woman. Like everyone tells you that, well, actually nobody tells you anything about pregnancy, and some people find it probably a little bit different. Everyone's experience is different, but it really sucks.
Mhm.
You have no control over your
She
body.
was under the impression that she was going to work out until the baby was born.
Right. And instead,
And when that didn't happen, she didn't like it so much.
So instead I sat on the couch and with our son, I ate lots of cheese fries and beef sandwiches. And with our daughter, I ate pans of brownies and cookies. So I'm not even kidding.
Oh,
So
no.
he would go and he would come back from the grocery store with bags of stuff. And so I gained 80 pounds with our son and 60 with our daughter.
So you spend a long period of your life overweight.
Yep.
Finally get into a position where you kind of have your body under control and you're healthy and you have a good relationship. And then you lose control.
Yeah.
Because something else takes over and is your host too. How did that feel?
So from that aspect, it was kind of a weird line and balance, because that part sucked, but then it was really cool, right? You have this child moving and you can feel it, and you already love your baby, and you kind of talk to it, and then you feel weird about talking to it because you're talking to your stomach, and it's kind of weird. Right?
They can hear though.
They can, but it's it's really cool and to look in the mirror. But I did have to have conscious discussions with myself when I would look in the mirror and say, this is not your body the way that it used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is your body carrying our child. So trying to change that perspective. And this is not fat Angela. This is mom, right? This is who you're becoming. This is not who you were. And then it was a struggle, and it still is. I mean, I tried
my best to support you, and
you did, and get me brownies. It was awesome.
And said, don't worry. When this is all done, we're gonna
and we did.
We're gonna be just fine. It's gonna be all good.
Yeah.
And you'd cry, and then
Cried a lot.
and then it'll be okay.
What was it like for you to watch her body go through those changes?
I thought, I was just amazed and in awe, and I'm just like, don't worry about it. You're building the perfect baby. You're building the perfect baby. And we did.
Yeah.
You did. And
we did twice.
We got two perfect babies, and then I'm like, see, these are perfect babies. That's why, that's what you went through to do this. And,
that didn't help. Guys, don't say that to your spouse. I'm kidding. It did help. You tried. But honestly, when you're in the throes of it and you have hormones raging and somebody's telling you you're just building the perfect baby, that's really no.
I don't think there's anything you can say at that point.
That's
really.
a good point. Yeah. You were doomed.
I was
from the
trying.
get-go.
I was trying.
It is a really interesting way that we're kind of designed like that, right? Guys don't really get fat, and women's weight's all over the place all the time. And then you have to go through this experience that makes you go through this huge weight shift
on purpose. Yeah.
And I think that, for people who are single, for people who've never had a baby, I think their fear is that, for men and women, oh my God, my wife is going to, get huge or my body's going to change. No one's going to love me.
Yeah.
And if that were true, I think everyone would be divorced because, you know, everyone goes through those changes. And I think those things, when you're in a real relationship, when you really love, it is so insignificant. I mean, you see each other every day and those changes happen just gradually. And I don't even notice changes in you. I don't. And then maybe like if I see a picture, like, oh, you know, but you see it all the time and it's so insignificant compared to so many other things that are so much more important. Like someone who shows up for you and someone you can trust and someone that is loyal and just has your back and cares about you is so much more important than the size of your thighs.
Yeah. Your thigh gap.
So let me ask you guys, because this is when we ask couples about the challenges that they face in their relationship, a lot of times they kind of give us the smoothed over version. Right. And every relationship runs into challenges. Every relationship runs into conflict. Okay. Couples argue. It is necessary in a relationship in order to get to a place of complete understanding and connection. Right. So what are some of the challenges you guys have faced in your relationship, in your marriage? And how have you guys handled conflict?
Cleaning.
Really? That was the first thing that came to your mind?
Loves to clean.
Apparently I have a problem.
Loves to clean. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But, you know, every once in a while.
Do you guys have common things that you have conflict about?
No. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, our families.
Our families. Yeah.
Our families.
Yeah.
That's a big one for couples.
Particular one person in each family.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other person. 2 people in each family.
2 people in each family.
Well, maybe a little more. Yeah. And you know what? A lot of it stems from, I think, us being single for so long, right? Because we were older when we got married. And we weren't old by any means. And I was 11 years younger than him. But our families were so used to having us around to do things for them.
Yeah.
And now they don't. And it wasn't just because when we first started dating, nothing changed. Then we just had my dad was like, awesome, this guy can build anything. Chuck, I need you to do this. I need you to do that, you know, and, you know, we helped out. I remember cleaning, you know, the fans and your parents in the family room there. And, you know, cause my mother-in-law couldn't get up there. So we did all those things. But then once the kids came, that's when like the family dynamic really, cause I needed him more.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys both have the same role in your families of origin?
We did.
You're the caretakers of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because me and my brothers, you know, we're all handy, very handy. And so my mom always, you know, she never had to call a handyman or anybody ever growing, you know, because my dad always fixed things. And so that's what we always did with our family. You know, something needed to be done at the parents' house. We fixed it. We did it, blah, blah, blah. And so I was just so used to just going over there whenever anything needed to be done, getting it done, you know, and because most people, call somebody to have it done. And, but no, it was just me or my brothers. We'd go over there and fix it.
And prior to having a family, you didn't have anyone else to consider.
Didn't matter.
So how does that work now?
It's difficult now because because I just don't have the time or the energy to get it done, you know, but I do feel like I need to, you know, because my parents were always supportive with whatever we did, you know, and money and everything, you know, they'd always, you know, so I always felt like I owed it to them, you know, to go and
there was an obligation there, right?
Right. Yeah. So
we do talk about how he has paid his debt. That is a common theme.
He's done a lot of nice custom work in that house.
Well, there's been a lot, and there's a lot now that, you know, just little things like if we go out to breakfast, we pay, or to dinner, you know, like those, just like little things like that I think put you in a position where that debt has been paid.
I think so.
And it's of course easy for me to say to him.
But my mom being 75 years old, you know, she's just stuck in her ways. So, you know, I need this done. Oh, I just call the kids and they get it done.
It's just an expectation.
Yeah. She's so used to doing it. She's been doing it for 50 years or whatever it is.
So the challenge is trying to balance, you know, taking care of your family and then trying to take care of, you know, your extended family, you know, and now this shift, right? Because before when you were single, it was easy then. Just take care of your extended family. It's fine. But now you have your immediate family now that you have created, and having to be there for them. How do you navigate that?
I don't know.
He says no a lot. And then, and
and I feel bad, saying no, but I try to explain to her, I got my kids now. And my mom understands. She's like, I know. It's the same thing. We never went and saw, your grandparents because we were just too busy with you guys,
requests, and coming.
But
but
it's no different with your family too, right?
I was trying to keep quiet during that because I knew the tables were going to turn.
So you have the same thing going on your side?
Yes, very much
she's constantly having to do things for her parents, and
right.
It's just,
So when you guys get into a point where there's the conflict, how do you guys navigate that?
Wine.
Yes.
Red or white?
Exactly. It's funny because when you do that, so red or white.
But
and then we laugh, and because I think we have that relationship, and
we argue. We yell,
but it doesn't last long at all.
But we talk through it. Like we try and keep the yelling part.
Yeah.
To a minimum,
How do you try that?
I really take a second and pause because the stuff that's going through my brain most of the time should never come out of there. Like it should just stay there. And I have to, so I try and listen and go through in my head about what my expectations are. And did he know those expectations? And are they reasonable expectations? Because a lot of times I either didn't communicate those expectations to him or they're not reasonable because I can be very demanding and unreasonable at times. A lot of times. But so once I kind of do that in my head, that kind of brings me down. And sometimes, I'll just tell him like, I'm not trying to upset you. Right. Like this is where I'm coming from. And he'll do the same. Like we take a second, we take a step back and we try and explain to the other person where we're coming from and what our perspective is.
And almost every single time, probably every single time, if it escalates to a yell, I know what I do when I'll yell and then instantly, as soon as it was it, one yell. And then I calm myself down. Like I can't yell. Why am I yelling?
Yeah.
And just, I don't keep yelling and yelling and yelling. I'm like, that doesn't do any good. Stop, take a breath. And think about, what's going on. And then we usually end up just working it out. And
sometimes I do go fold laundry. We have that discussion. Like sometimes I just say, you know what? I gotta walk away. Just because of the whole brain thing, right? Like all the stupid stuff that's going on in my head. I have to sort that out sometimes. Sometimes it takes me.
We never go to bed mad.
No, we
Never.
don't.
No.
I don't think we're mad. I don't know if I'd say that. Not that I'm like mad, but like, I think we go and we get to a point where we're like, okay, maybe we haven't fully resolved it, but we're like, you know what? Let's just sleep on this.
Just table it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe what you're referencing. Cause there's
right.
some nights I'm still pissed at you when I go to bed.
Right. You're just not verbalizing it to the other person. You guys taking a time out,
right.
like table it.
Let's go to sleep.
Because then in the morning, generally, we always come back to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talk it through, but then we're in a different place. Maybe we're more well rested. Maybe the wine has worn off. Whatever it may be, like that helps. So there's times we'll do that. So we table it.
Do you guys sleep in the same room?
Yeah. Oh yeah, every time.
Kids in the room with you?
No.
Our older one keeps asking. But we keep telling him that he's lucky because he gets his own bed.
We had their kids in their own bed before they were 1 month old.
Yeah, we had them in there.
And so far it's worked pretty good because,
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of couples, they really don't understand the concept that a healthy family means a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And then they put the kids first and the kids are getting so much that the couple's not getting anything.
Right.
And you guys seem to have really good balance with that.
We try. Someday we try. Sometimes it's not, right? And that's the whole thing with balance, right? Mm-hmm. It's not every day, but we really do try. And some days, he had the flu, like the influenza flu for a week. So, that was, that changes the balance of things, right? When you have 2 kids and 3 and, when your husband's sick and, if one of the kids is sick or if one of us is busy at work and, you were pretty stressed at work, right? So that was kind of changed the balance of things a little bit, but you work through that and that's the whole point. And there's times when I'm busy at work and then he kind of does more. And actually now that he's in his newfound freedom pretty soon with his job, like I see him back to normal, like with the kids and kind of being more active and involved. Whereas before it was really getting into your brain. And we had this discussion.
Yeah. I think we work through everything. We don't let things fester and don't put them off. We pretty much, like you said, if it goes overnight, it's figured out by the next morning, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So last question. How do you know your partner loves you?
That's a good question. How?
You want to go first?
How do I know she loves me? Just puts up with me. I mean,
it's not that hard.
It's just, because I'm pretty laid back and relaxed about things. And sometimes she gets mad about that, but I don't know. I think she loves that about me.
I do love that about you.
And I just try to put, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. No, relax. That, I don't know. I think that's it. What do you think?
No, I don't know if you really answered the question because my answer is completely different. But
I imagine your answer is going to be different and should be different, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Good point. No, just like little things, and just to kind of like talk about, after while being pregnant or afterwards when you're postpartum and you're just not, your body's not where you want it to be. And he's always, did a little, butt grab or, like little stuff like that, like nothing major, or just, if he's walking past in the kitchen, he'll just put his hand on me, or something like that, like having that bodily contact in a non-sexual way at that point, so it's, you don't have like that ulterior motive, right? It's
right.
Just literally, I'm just walking by, or,
just a show of affection.
Just a show of affection. Yeah. And he does that all the time. And, sometimes, kids are crying and food's all over the place and tears are flowing from me, and there's still that show of affection. So that's how I know, and I guess my answer is the same, and he puts up with me because I'm a big pain in the ass most of the time.
Well, Chuck and Angela really want to thank you again, wholeheartedly, for joining us today on Couples Synergy.
Oh, you're welcome. We had a good time.
Pleasure.
We get wounded through relationship and we heal through relationship. And human beings have been telling stories since the beginning of time. And we hope that you guys sharing your story enriches your lives and the lives of our listeners.
For all of you listening, if you have any questions or topic suggestions, again, please feel free to leave a comment or look us up online at couplesynergy.com. Until next time.
You have been listening to Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean Kadkodian. Couple Synergy was recorded, edited, and produced by Dr. Ray and Jean Kadkodian, along with Organizational Director Calvin Javier and Marketing Coordinator Bridget Reese. Voiceover and music entitled Breathe and Let Go was recorded and composed by Gina Gonzalez.